playoffs start tomorrow. Let's play a game of Who You Got with Legs and Alan Hahn. Legs, Pacers, Bucks, who you got?
I like the Pacers. And I think even if Giannis was 100%, this was going to be a very tough series for Milwaukee to win. They have been good defensively. This is a very difficult matchup for them. We saw that in the regular season. The pace, the style, the way they spread you out. Indiana's a problem for that particular team, but a limited Giannis or an unavailable Giannis, I really like the Pacers, so I'm going with Indiana to win the series.
Alan, Suns, Timberwolves, round one, who you got?
I've got the Timberwolves, but by a slight margin. What a matchup this is going to be. Ant-Man, his chance to jump off the diving board and into the superstar pool, going up against Bradley Beal. They got some history there. But for the Timberwolves and their great defense, who's going to guard Kevin Durant? And for the Suns, can they close games? Because their offense is a disaster late in games.
Legs, let's go to the Mavs and the Clippers. This is a fascinating series. You have been riding Dallas for a while. Do you think they win?
Absolutely. I'm not going to bail on them now. And here's why. Listen, they've been incredible since the acquisitions. Finished the season probably playing better basketball than any team in the NBA. This is the best team around Luka Doncic going into the postseason, and he's already taken a team to the conference finals. I really like Dallas in this series, particularly since we haven't seen Kawhi in a while. I'm going to need to see what he looks like early.
All right, and finally, Hahn, maybe the glamour series of round one. Lakers, Nuggets, who do we like?
We like the Nuggets. They have the matchup here. Now, we talk a lot about Jokic and Anthony Davis, but really, we don't talk enough about Jamal Murray. In the playoff series last year in the Western Conference Finals, averaged 32 points a game. And also during the regular season this year in matchups against the Lakers, 23-9 on 50-40 shooting. Do they have an answer for him if they're going to spend so much time focusing on trying to stop Jokic?
Yeah, Jamal Murray's been a terrific player for a while, but it was last year's postseason was his coming out party as a true NBA star. In the meantime, it is a rematch, as Alan mentioned, of last year's conference final, but LeBron isn't thinking about it that way.
How much have you been looking forward to this rematch after what happened last year?
I think you put a little bit too much more emphasis on it. This is our first round matchup, and we look forward to the postseason. But I haven't been looking forward to the rematches.
What's your reaction? You guys seem to both be.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
We need a BS translator on this one because I'm not buying it.
Well, and a lot of people are jumping on him because they think that he's kind of deflecting and afraid to poke the bear a little bit. I just didn't interpret it that way. I think he's right. They weren't thinking about the Denver Nuggets this whole time. They were thinking about surviving. Think about what they went through the last couple of weeks. Are we going to survive the play-in? They didn't know who they were going to play. Denver, as it turns out, ended up in their lap. They didn't even know that going into the last two games who they were going to play if they survived the play-in. So it almost seems like, wow, you must have been dwelling about Denver all year because you want this series. And that's how I interpreted the question. And I think LeBron was kind of like, well, not really. I mean, yeah, let's go. We're going to play him. This is our matchup. But it's not like I sit around and I got Jokic in my head all day. I believe him on that.
This is classic LeBron playbook. I think he's just trying to tamp down any of the talk before the series and just try to not turn it into a back and forth where something becomes bulletin board material. But I think he's been thinking about Denver all season. They can't beat him. And he knows if he wants to get to where he wants to get, which is another ring, going to have to go through Denver at some point. It's going to be in the first round.
So, look, this is a debate that has. Why are you making that face?
Because, I mean, how many parlays are we going to come up with to make this argument go away? It's never going away, ever. This is taken over. Is the DH good for baseball? Because obviously the DH is. Everybody has it now. This is the all-time greatest sports debate that's never going away. Honestly, I thought that the bubble championship was supposed to do this because it's three different franchises that he was the main player to win a championship. I thought that was supposed to end the debate, but it clearly hasn't. What more has to be done for LeBron James to win this battle? I just think this is one that's going to stand the test of time. You're on one side or the other. Nothing more that he can do, aside from, of course, coming to New York and winning a championship with the Knicks, could change my mind.
That you personally, and I don't know, something like 8 million other people in this city behind us. But here's the one thing I will say for what Stephen A. is saying. Because I do like these debates. I mean, I've sort of made my living in them for the last 30 years. And I will be a Michael guy, I think, to the day I die, based upon the history that I have with him.
As will I.
That said, the best argument LeBron has is the stuff he's still doing. LeBron James is by far the greatest 39-year-old basketball player that's ever lived. It isn't even close. In the last year and change, he has become the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. That's not nothing. It's definitely something. And right now, the world views Nikola Jokic as unbeatable. He's sort of Drago. He's the guy no one can take out, and they are a prohibitive favorite, right? If LeBron knocks this guy off in the next couple of weeks at this age and goes on to win a championship in the league, I think it does influence the conversation. It is a huge factor in the discussion.
So there's a fence in the middle of this yard, and there's people in two different yards.
Right.
To your point, it almost is reflective of the current political climate that we face now, right? You're one side or the other, and there's a fence. Here's what I will say. I agree with Stephen A. in this regard. It's the only thing that LeBron could still do, to grab a little bit more and move people closer to the fence.
More people on
but
his
they're
side.
still going to be leaning on the fence.
That's fair. That's fair. It moves it closer, but it never eliminates it.
And you're right, and I agree. I think people are so entrenched in this mindset. I agree, but think about what we're talking here. It would mean beating a guy that's about to win his third MVP,
right?
And the reigning champ. Then going up against potentially Kevin Durant and beating that team, or a young emerging superstar in Anthony Edwards. Then potentially either Luka and Kyrie, or 4 Hall of Famers on the Clippers, and then the Boston Celtics, who had 64 wins in this year. That playoff run, if he's at this age, if he's able to do that and be Finals MVP in the process, a lot of those people are going to be right up
That's
against
what I'm
it.
saying.
And maybe some will jump, but I think for the most part, people are so dug in their ideology on this topic, I don't know that ultimately you're going to get people to go to the other side.
But people who are reasonable about it will say that Michael's story has been written. LeBron's story has not been written. There are chapters left to be written. This would be an unbelievable one.
Very true.
Now, look, I'm on record as saying I don't think they can beat this team. I don't think anybody beats this team. And that would be all the more reason in my book why it would be an astonishing win for them to do.
I just made a hell of a leap. I had them running through those 4 series. They might go home in 5 games.
But think about it.
That would suggest they win one of them.
It's taken 20 years and he's still chasing it. Like 20 years and he's still chasing it.
Well,
right? It shows you just the impact that Michael Jordan had in much lesser time.
Well, he's the greatest player of all time, and let's see if LeBron can put himself in that discussion. That's out west. Let's go east and do a little more or less, which is presented by ESPN Bet. Knicks, Sixers, legs. If I gave you the number 28.5 points for Joel Embiid in Game 1, you going more or less?
I'm going to go less based on what I saw the other night. Not only did he look limited to me, he certainly looked gassed. I also think you're talking about now a Knicks team that physically understands what he's dealing with and what they're going to come at him with. Based on what I saw the other night, very difficult for me to think he's going to have a 30-point game.
Hahn, Jalen Brunson, 30.5 points Game 1, more or less.
I'm going to go more because he averaged over 30 a game since January 1st when they had all kinds of injuries and he had to carry this team. He's going to have to score over 30 for this Knicks team to win this series. But keep in mind, against the Sixers in the regular season, they were very good defensively against him. He only averaged 22 a game against them. So Nick Nurse will have a defense ready to slow him down.
And let me give you one more. Legs, 5.5 games played in the series is the number. Sixers, Knicks, more or less.
Oh, more for sure. I think this could go 7 games. And I'm not going to be shocked if Philadelphia wins the series because it's going to come down to what I see out of Joel Embiid early. And if Joel Embiid, as it turns out, the game against Miami was more about conditioning than it was his leg, then he's going to get better as the series goes. I'm not convinced of that, which is why I think the Knicks are going to win the series, but I think this thing could go the distance with a Game 7 in Madison Square Garden.
With that thought in mind, put the picks up, Cindy, if you can, on Knicks. Legler taking the Knicks is going to make you very popular in Philadelphia.
Can't wait to get home.
It's going to be delightful for you.
Jumping on Sports Talk Radio in Philly.
It's going to be great.
Alan had no choice whatsoever to make that pick.
Contractually obligated.
What is, because we could talk all we want about Embiid and everything else, but I just am looking at the notes here. Who's the X factor in this series?
Maxey, come on. It's got to be. Look, why are we not allowed to put additional expectations on a guy that's an all-star? I love him. Young all-star, 3 50-point games this year. He averaged 27 points a game. So we're looking at him, and I think sometimes the tendency is to, when it's a young player, oh, come on, what can you really expect? He's young. No, forget that. Come on, step up. The guy's arrived, and I look at it like this. He's got a chance to grab some real estate in terms of how he's viewed in the league. Yep. If Embiid is limited, Brunson does his thing, which I think he will be. Tyrese Maxey has an opportunity to make a serious statement in this series about what kind of co-star he is. And he's got to be certainly better than he was against Miami. He didn't play great, wasn't terrible, didn't play great. He's got to be much better than that in this series for them to have a chance. And the opportunities will be there. There's only so much attention you can give him if you're doing what you have to against Embiid, right, Al?
Yeah, and also, by the way, keep in mind, it's also payday for him at the end of
True.
the season. So you have yourself a great playoff series that only just brings that number up. But he has certainly earned already the idea that he is the future at that position that they've been looking for. But he's an X factor on the Knicks side of things. To me, it's OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby was acquired for everything that he has brought to this team, which is obviously a lot of winning when he's in the lineup, but the defense and the disruption that he can bring. He will not be a primary defender on Maxey, but he will help out a lot, and that's going to be key for the Knicks in this.